Hey everyone, bless up. This is Karen with Naturally with Karen. Back here today on Saturday. It is January. Diagnostics, wielding power. Okay. All right. For some reason, I just got this weird message. It's freezing. It is, I think it's about -8. Could be 8 degrees. It's somewhere around there. It's really, really cold. I'm bundled up with my scarf. I'm inside the warm car. Just let the dogs out for a really fun play. This particular live stream is about diagnostics and wielding power. What do I mean by that? Well, all of your life, you go in and you see the doctor, most of us, right? We go in and we get a physical checkup, a physical exam, and the language that we use most of the time, excuse me, I need to take a sip of my fennel tea. There we go. Most of the time, what we mean by that is that we don't feel okay if something starts to present as a symptom unless we go to the doctor and we get checked. Maybe we have a different kind of a doctor. Maybe it's a naturopathic or a functional medicine doctor, an integrative functional doctor, a chiropractor. And now more and more of you are going to, and we are going to, health coaches, functional health coaches, even shamans. But we don't have many shamans left anymore, meaning that instead of just sending you off to get another lab test, another urine test, looking for things the same way that the allopathic system does, which is to give you, and so you feel more comfortable, a diagnosis. Let's dissect that word for a minute. Agnostic. Do you know what agnostic means? Let's have you look it up, because I bet you do, but if you don't, that's why you all have smartphones and you can Google the word agnostic. Start getting surprised. Start taking a few moments to spend a little bit of time to figure out what words sound that I began learning in the late 70s, what it really means. Frequently, I will say to people, you're actually underspelling in a form of sorcery that you don't really even see happening, but it really is. For 16 years, February 1st, I rented a space in a small city of 11,000 people after leaving Santa Cruz, where I was for 42 years. 34 years together since 1985. I began with raw foods for reversing cancer and understanding the dietary, the nutritional aspects. Then I went into the herbal aspects and the massage for 16 years. And you learn a lot about the body. But for those 16 years, people would tell me or write down on their wellness sheet, their confidential client health and wellness sheet, what was going on with them. You would see their diagnosis codes, their medications, and I would start to get more comfortable saying, medications to me are just drugs. They're just drugs that you take, but you've comforted yourself by calling them medicine. I don't see them as medicine. I see them as drugs, medications. Are they necessary? A small fraction of the time compared to how we use them today. And that's part of our problem. So I want to really get into this. Wielding the power. When clients would come and tell me, I have myasthenia gravis, I have lupus, I have Hashimoto's autoimmune disease with a blankety blank, I realized from having that office and working in the legal industry, because these are all industries, the academic industry, school industry, right? Same thing. The banking industry, finance industry, the vaccine, pharmaceutical, medical industry, they all butter each other's bread, so to speak. So I would be at a shop space that I rented, and I would be in the attorney's office before I opened up my business, and I would get paid to go through boxes and boxes of people's personal documents so that when I constructed their moving papers or their motions, in dissolution of marriage, child custody, child support, property motions, disposition of property, marital settlement agreements, final marital settlement agreements between people, I would be able to have things carefully reviewed. Okay. So I got an aptitude and a competence in learning how to go through voluminous amounts of material and extract out the facets or the particular aspects of that material that I needed. The same thing was true since 1985 with looking for what I needed when it came to health, when it came to common, practical, common sense. So now when I moved to a very small city after being in the Bay Area, in judges' chambers, in one law firm post my internship in school and my college degree that I put myself through out of want, picked courses like physiological psychology of addiction, and courses that were meaningful to me. I would come, and the people where I relocated to, a lot of them that were coworkers because they were also women who were renting business space in the same space I was that had a treatment room for massage and wellness coaching. They didn't know about not having dairy, wheat, what a plant-based diet does compared to the standard American diet, and neither did most of the people in the city. In fact, it seemed really foreign, and I walked around with a mason jar with herbs in it because I'm an herbalist from American School of Herbalism in the year 1999, 2000, 2001. So people would say, do you have moonshine in that jar, or what's going on? And, you know, it might sound kind of funny to you, but when you're a business and you've got a small son to support and people aren't really paying you because it sounds like you're too out there, you're not the doctor, it's too far-fetched. It wasn't funny at all. In fact, it was really, really painful because you're not making enough money to survive. So I really gave and gave and gave and gave to my clients that came for massage. And I kept saying, what is your doctor doing for you for your thyroid? You've already had fibromyalgia. You've already, and Pablo's going to come join us. You've already had, miscarriages, perhaps stillborns. You've already had breast cancer and a double mastectomy. Can't see anything on my video. You've already had all these issues. And what is your doctor really doing for you besides putting you on a watch? I'm going to see if I can turn this way because I'm completely blinded out of the video now. Your doctor's putting you on, it's blinding me out of the whole video. There we go. Your doctor's putting you on a watch. Sorry guys, we're in a really super blinded place right now, so bear with me for a moment. It was really nice and then the sun kind of moved. They'd put her on a watch 6 months at a time to come back and do another thyroid ultrasound, but I knew the trouble was brewing for my client, and I tried my best to protect her and him and her and him, but I wasn't the doctor, okay? So I knew that my family was dying from thyroid issues. One of my very close family members actually has thyroid cancer and has already had a thyroidectomy. One of my younger, very close family members has an extreme case of generalized anxiety disorder. In my mind, it's gone full-blown to agoraphobia, which means it doesn't want to go outside. Now, when we diagnose people, we hand them a title. But moreover, more than that, we hand them a code. I think I'm going to maybe even have to move my car because it's extremely bright. Right, Pobs? What you doing, Pobs? He's yawning. Okay. So I'll make this a little shorter than I planned because of the bright sun. I can't see anything here. Just a moment, please. I can't see anything, even my face on there because of the sun coming in. So I want to just make a couple of points that I meant to say here, which is why usually I do this by myself in the car so I don't get disrupted here. So excuse me, I'm sorry about that. People would come in over and over and over and tell me, or I would be standing at the counter and waiting for a client to check out. And I would overhear a woman talk about how she was so upset because she had to figure out how her insurance company was going to pay the $17,000 a month for the medications that she needed for her diagnosis for a rare blood disorder. And I used to wonder to myself, why is it that we have to come up with so much money? Why does it even seem possible that we would have what we call a healthcare crisis? We don't have a healthcare crisis. We have a healthcare fraud. And I want to say this because it took me decades of daily study, hundreds of books, unbelievable amount of courses. Careful, Pop. think I can see you a little bit better now. Thank you for waiting. It took me a long time to figure out that all of these things were so simple. They were the genetic mutations to the worst of the diagnoses, all had to do with the degenerated body. You have to have energy. So the same thing in my live stream to you called The Root of Addiction is the same thing when it comes to Hashimoto's, when it comes to cancer, when it comes to lupus, when it comes to myasthenia gravis, when it comes to hemochromatosis, when it comes to any of these things, multiple myeloma, okay? Pablo sees outside, and there was another dog out there, so he can't go right this minute. All of these are wielding power against you by telling you that you have these problems, okay? That you have these problems, that you have this official code, to the point that now, even when you're around others, when we are at our worst, we call each other a diagnosis code. We wield that same power. We call our partners, our friends, our family members, you're psycho, meaning psychosis, psychotic, right? We're using a diagnostic service manual code or a medicinal code. You're bipolar. You're a narcissist. We use it on social media. I see it all the time. My so-and-so is a narcissist. He's a narcissist. We're throwing around these codes that have so much power with each other all the time. We're imagining that we can diagnose one another. That's why I want you to take the word agnostic, break it down in word sound, and look up agnostic. See what it means. Then write me a comment down below and say, whoa, I get it. I see what you're talking about. I see that the system is a type of power that's artificial, and it wields power over other people. If I have someone that I'm working with that has Hashimoto's, I need to look at their thyroid, their adrenals, their diet, their trace elements, their pattern, their patterns, and their emotional programs. What kind of loops do they keep getting into? What kind of situations are they under? Where do they work? What is their family life like? Just basically not as a psychologist would, but because it's going to open up an entire arena for me to understand what's really happening with them. Just like with my friend on the phone this morning, earlier today, right? I said, which tooth was affected? Look up which meridian that belongs to. Which side of your mouth was it on? When did it start happening? Were you manifesting it with word sound? And like earlier, again, this rise. Well, when the whole world is chipped, I said, ooh, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to be chipped. You might not want to be chipped. But they accustomed us by chipping the dogs first. And of course, we love it because, well, if a dog is lost, it's kind of like we want the dog to be able to come back home, and that's meaningful. But what about the other effects of the chip, like the fact that the chips migrate within the dog's body slightly and they start to get encysted? Okay? So this particular live stream really is about the fact that we are throwing around these diagnosis codes all the time on social media, in our homes. You psycho. Well, you're a freaking narcissist. Well, you're freaking bipolar. I mean, look at you. I think you should go get checked. This system, the medical industry, has too much power. It has so much power that you believe it, that there's a healthcare crisis. There's a healthcare crisis because most people are seeking energy. And in the same way that James Redfield, author of Celestine Prophecy, I've read the whole series of his books, even the 10th Insight or 11th Insight, I forget, it's been a while. He pointed out a really crucial piece, which is if we can't get energy in a healthy way, we will always steal energy. Instead of making requests, much like the toddler, like Pablo is a little toddler here, we will make demands. Instead of getting energy healthfully, we go out and we seek it sexually at the casino. We seek it through drugs so we can produce a feeling quickly that we were looking for. We seek it by eating sugar all night long because we ourselves want sweetness in our lives. So we're eating sweetness. That also satisfies the oral gratification that Freud talked about. For all the things we might not like or respect Freud for being machismo or maybe even a sexist, and most of the feminists don't like Freud, Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, at all. Freud had some really good pieces, excuse me, when he talked about the various gratifications, the oral and the anal and the different phases and gratifications that we have. I just ate a really big lunch, and I probably shouldn't have done that. But I'm drinking my fennel tea, which is exceptional for digestion. And I've got the tea bags on my Facebook page, Naturally with Karen. So it's dry. It's January. I am regenerating myself. I got a good night's sleep last night. I hope you did too. I sleep on the floor. I have for most of the time I've been in Minnesota, slept on the floor. That's Pablo. He likes to just see how he's doing. Say hi, Pub. Hi, buddy. Say hi. Okay. The medical industry has become far too powerful. Not only do we donate to them, a lot of the work that they do is tax deductible. A lot of what they charge us for, like Q-tips, Tampax, pads, bandages, and everything else, they charge an inordinate amount of money for. But just about every single diagnosis code you could possibly imagine is a state of degeneration. Now, when a person has a multiplex of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and all of those are commingled together, it starts to look like a tumor or a two more. It's two more problems combined together make a tumor. Okay? Look at your word sound. Every single one of these most heinous diseases is patterned after the name of a female or a mother, and I will explain that later, but that's as far as I'm going to go on this live stream on that aspect. If you can tell people, and we know for a fact now that many times we were telling people, you have this disease, it's terminal. We're going to do chemotherapy, chemical warfare therapy on you so that you can survive. And the chemicalization of your body, killing it from the inside, therapy helps you, and you believe it's going to help you. The placebo alone will help you, but eventually it's going to kill you because you no longer have a functioning digestive elimination system. If you wield this kind of power and all of the people not only subscribe to it, but see it as an allegiant, absolute authority, and you're almost remiss and ignorant and negligent for not having yourself checked, and all of the stops are put into place, like, did your child get their physical exam before the new school year? So now you are acclimating this into an almost a religious experience. You religiously, all of the time, faithfully, that's why it's religious, faithfully take your children to get a physical exam every single year before the start of school. Very few of you will write me, and I hope that you will down below and say, I don't do that, or I homeschool, or I unschool, or I do Waldorf school, and most of the children there are not immunized. We understand the difference and why it makes a difference not to do this. We understand. Write me and tell me, do you understand that we would not have a healthcare crisis today? We would not have the money problems we have today if instead of saying I have Hashimoto's, I have hemochromatosis. Instead of saying you have hemochromatosis, Could you say I'm degenerated, and with specific emphasis, I have an excessive amount of iron in my blood? I live on the iron range, and I've been having some degeneration issues that now I'm showing high iron. That is a lot more logical and practical than needing $17,000 a month in medications to take down the inflammation because you are unwilling to change your diet. So we're going to give you prednisone and anti-steroidals, anti-inflammatories. We're going to give you pain medications and everything else because you will not listen to changing yourself into a plant-based diet. You will not go through the levels of detoxification that you need to take. Does that make sense? It was only women that were the healers. Only women. Men were not the healers. Women were the birthers of the children. They were matrilineal societies. They took the mother's name. All of the children could be entrusted with all of the community because we could trust, love, respect, and show manners with one another. This is what I'm going for. This is what's important to me. Yes, I have stresses in my life too, but this is possible. It's possible, it's probable, it's going to happen. So I want to leave you with hope. I want you to be aware that you don't always have to subscribe to the diagnostic code. If you can see that through your habits, through exposures, mental, physical stress, disconnection from nature, if you're listening right now and you're a young man and you spent too much time sitting there in gaming chairs and looking at Game Boys and Xboxes and PlayStations, and somehow you ended up in a surgery and you ended up addicted, there's hope for you too. All you have to do is listen, drink filtered water, get on a healthier diet, because what you're going to do first is detoxify your body from chemicals, get out there and walk, make sure you have a gallon jug of water, of filtered water, and make sure how much you're drinking every day. Now, some people that have never experienced this would automatically have a knee-jerk reaction and say, oh, give me a break. But you have to start somewhere. If you keep doing sedentary habits and you keep taking the drugs, it's not going to get you anywhere. You have to heal yourself from within. You get right from within first. And then if you hit stressors like I have, and you will, and everyone will in this life, you'll be able to ride through them without them knocking you over and bowling you over. So let's not hurl these diagnosis codes around at one another. Psychosis, you're psychotic, you're bipolar. We're all doing it. I've done it. I don't want to do it, but I have done it in the past in weak moments. And you probably have too. So feel free to leave me some comments down below. I'd love it if you would subscribe. Pablo, would you like him to subscribe? Do you want them to subscribe too? Can you ask? Okay. All right, so we're going to go home now. We're working on the second revision of Detox and Heal Your Thyroid so that it can get out reasonably soon because I keep getting delayed. I'm going to send you lots of love and lots of blessings, and keep your head up. Keep aware. Keep learning. Watch my videos. Share my videos. Please subscribe. Not because I need to be a big celebrity, but because I'm going to bring something so valuable that it will give us all hope again. And that is humanity. It's honesty. It's candidness. If I've learned this in all these years, I want to share it with you. All right.